What's up, guys? It's Chris here to talk about last night's UFC 111 and the boxing matches. I've already shot this video more than once because I keep going over, so real quick, I'm just going to do UFC 111 first. Don't have too much to say about it. Nate Diaz looked good. Stopped Rory Markham. His first fight at 170. Markham was like a whole weight division higher. He looked like a middleweight against a welterweight, but Nate gets the win. Said in an after-fight interview with Ariel Helwani that he probably might go down to back down lightweight. We'll see, but good win for Nate nonetheless. Husamal Palhares gets a heel hook submission win over Thomas Dirrell. Ends up getting suspended afterwards because UFC felt that he held on to the hold too long. I do as well. Dirrell was obviously tapping out. The referee was trying to break it up, and Palhares was still tweaking that thing. Looked like he did some damage to Dirrell, so I can understand that. Jim Miller gets unanimous decision win over Mark Bocek. I agree with the decision. I gave Miller the first round and the third. Close third round, but I thought Miller pulled it out. John Fitch gets a unanimous decision win over Ben Saunders. Pretty clear cut there. Saunders was a last minute replacement for Thiago Alves, who unfortunately, the brain scan showed a little something going on there. He couldn't take the fight. Saunders was supposed to fight Jake Ellenberger, but he took the fight with Fitch. He got dominated. Anyone that knows how Fitch fights can imagine how this fight went if you didn't see it. Fitch dominated. It's on the ground for 3 rounds. Shane Carwin against Frank Mir. I picked Frank Mir. I was wrong. Shane Carwin gets an impressive first round knockout. We didn't really learn much about Shane Carwin. Pretty much when all of his fights went. Hurts his guy in the first and finishes him off in the first. But the biggest win of his career by far. An impressive win, dominating Frank Mir and stopping him the way he did. Now he's the UFC interim heavyweight champion. Doesn't really mean anything. That title is meaningless in my opinion. Next up, Brock Lesnar in July. Looking forward to that fight. Early on, I'd probably favor Brock just because I think he's the bigger, better athlete. Carwin's probably the stronger puncher. Well, I do think he's a stronger puncher, but I do think Brock's the better fighter a little bit. Just think he's going to put Carwin on his back and dominate him from there, but we'll see. Main event, George St. Pierre dominates Dan Hardy over 5 rounds. Not a whole lot to say about this fight. Wasn't really all that entertaining. Typical of George St. Pierre's most recent fights, where he just takes a guy down and beats him up. Beats him on the ground for 5 rounds. Do want to say credit to Dan Hardy for not tapping out. He was in a serious armbar and Kimura later on in the fight. A lot of guys would have tapped out to that, but he fought out of it. And he never gave up in the fight. He got dominated for every round, but he never quit trying. Either way, though, George St. Pierre gets a dominant victory. Not the most entertaining fight, but whatever. Next up for him, probably the winner of Paul Daly versus Josh Koscheck. Hopefully Daly. We already saw the Koscheck fight. I'd expect GSP to dominate Daly like he did Hardy, but I still would rather see it than Koscheck GSP 2. Overall, the UFC event, not the most entertaining. Aside from the Shane Carwin fight, not really anything memorable. Nothing really that you're going to really walk away with and think too much about. So if you didn't see it, don't worry. You didn't really miss out too much. But if you did go see it at the theaters, let me know what it was like. I was kind of curious what that experience was like. Anyways, moving on to the boxing fights. First up, I watched the HBO card first. I had to DVR all this stuff because I was watching UFC. First fight, we had Joan Guzman against Ali Funica 2. Guzman, as everyone knows, came in 9 pounds overweight at the weigh-in. Funica, credit to him, still took the fight. Funica can't catch a break fight in North America. I don't know. The guy's like jinxed or something. I don't know what the hell the problem is, but Guzman did in this fight what I thought he would do in the first fight. He outboxed Funica. Now, do I think the weight played a difference? The weight difference played a factor? Absolutely. But I do think Guzman won this fight more so not just on the weight. He did outbox Funica for the majority of the fight. But he did have a lot more on his punches than Funica did. When his punches landed, they had a lot more thud to him. And when Funica just never could really get on track like he did in the first fight. Guzman just fought a better fight than he did the first fight. So it's kind of a good, and it's a positive and a negative. Guzman gets a victory. It was a split decision. I thought he clearly won the fight. But the fact that he came in so much overweight, it's hard to really give him too much credit. What's next for these guys? I think Funica should stay a lightweight. I think he's one of the better lightweights out there still. Guzman, I think he should campaign probably at junior welter. See what he could do there. That's a friggin' deep division. So, it is what it is. Max Kellerman said it all in this fight, as far as the weight difference and stuff. I don't really have anything to add. Pretty much agree with everything he said. Marcos Maidana gets a knockout over Victor Cayo. I picked Cayo in this fight. I went 0 for 3 in my boxing predictions last night. Whatever. Not my best night of predictions, but good night of fights. This was my favorite fight of the night. Of all the fights I saw UFC and boxing, Pretty competitive fight, back and forth. Not back and forth, but competitive fight throughout. Victor Cayo, fast fighter, not the most technical. You know, he's got good skills, but his technique's not the best, especially defensive. Never puts his hands up. You know, he had Sergio Martinez in his corner, and this fight reminded me of Sergio Martinez's fight back in the day with Antonio Margarito. Although this fight was more competitive to that, but Maidana just was landing the harder shots throughout. There were quite a few exchanges. Both did have their moments, but Maidana's punches just had much more effect than Cayo's did. 6th round, Maidana came out like a beast. Absolutely just was breaking Cayo down. I mean, he was really putting it on him. Really landing hard shots. If you listen to the crowd, you know, you could tell. They were like, ooh, ooh. You know, he was landing solid shots to the head and the body. Ends up landing a clean shot to the solar plexus, and Cayo goes down and stays down for the count. So, an impressive victory for Marcos Maidana. I do still want to see Victor Cayo, more of him in the future. I do think he has a future in the weight division. Just needs to tighten up his technique. I think he should work with Sergio Martinez. Martinez has come a long way. He's become a much better fighter than he was back in the day. And I think he should, since he has a similar style to Sergio Martinez, I think Victor Cayo can learn from him. As for Maidana, an impressive win. One of the best guys in that division. I'd love to see him against Alexander Bradley or Khan. Or Malignaggi, if Malignaggi beats Khan. Okay, on to the Showtime card. Arthur Abraham against Andre Dirrell. I did pick Arthur Abraham to win this fight. Obviously, I was wrong. That goes without saying. Andre Dirrell looked great. Best performance of his career by far. I was worried about his, you know, I just didn't know how mentally he would hang in there, but he looked great. He completely was outboxing Abraham for the majority of the fight. Abraham was doing his defensive thing, but he wasn't really, he never really got his offense going. He never really let his hands go as much as he has in the past. You know, he did throw some punches here and there, and when he did, there were a few times where he would snap Dirrell's head back, and even the crowd would be like, ooh, ooh. You know, and the crowd, good environment. They were in Dirrell's hometown, Detroit. You know, it was pretty much pro Dirrell, but it made for a good environment, which is always makes for the fight better. You know, but Andre Dirrell just was absolutely outboxing. Abraham had him frustrated, even knocked him down, first knockdown of Abraham's career. Unfortunately, 11th round. Now, the thing is, Abraham was coming on. Dirrell looked to be getting maybe tired, I don't know. Abraham was coming on. Dirrell slipped in Abraham's corner. He had slipped in there earlier. And when he's down, Arthur Abraham hit him clean with just a vicious right hand, I believe it was. And Dirrell went down. Very, very, very reminiscent of Roy Jones versus Montel Griffin 1. I actually thought at first that Dirrell was faking, like I thought Montel was back in the day. It looked like a delayed reaction. But afterwards, when they tried to interview Andre Dirrell, I do not believe he was faking. He was very incoherent during the post-fight interview, as brief as it was. Just didn't seem to know where he was. If you've been knocked out or you've been concussed, you can't remember like the previous 30, 60 seconds of what happened. So I do believe that he was knocked out. I wish they would get rid of allowing so many people into the ring, both before and after the fights. You know, I think Dirrell, he was looking for space, and there's so much commotion going on, and his head was unclear. Just all those people in there, it's just, I don't know, it's just not a healthy situation in my opinion. I don't think it's necessary. You should have your corner man, your trainer, your first assistant. That's all that should be allowed in the ring as far as I'm concerned. But as for the fight, Abraham gets disqualified, rightfully so. If the fight would have made it to the scorecards, Dirrell would have won the decision. You know, the bad thing is for Abraham is he was coming on. Dirrell was slowing down. I'm not saying he would have stopped him or would have caught him and stopped him, but the possibility was there. Abraham did have a chance to catch and stop Dirrell late in the 11th or 12th round. But he took that possibility, took that opportunity away by doing what he did, by committing the foul. So Andre Dirrell gets the win. Hopefully both these guys will move on to the tournament. I've seen people, like I think Naptown Born, shouts out to him. So he thinks Abraham should get put out of the tournament. I don't think so. I think he should continue. As for Dirrell, I believe he has Andre Ward next in the tournament. Really looking forward to seeing that fight now after the Dirrell performance in this fight. But as for Abraham, I want to see him in the tournament still. He was my favorite in the tournament. After the first round, not anymore. Because if he makes it to the finals against a Ward, who I think will be in the finals, I would definitely favor Andre Ward. I think Andre Ward is a clear favorite at this point to win the whole thing now, based on the point systems and whatnot. But it was a pretty good fight. But Andre Dirrell, good win, impressive performance. Unfortunate the way it ended. Definitely deflated the fight. It was just disappointing the way the fight ended. But I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the fight. What you guys thought about Andre Dirrell, whether he was faking. I don't think he was. If you think that Abraham should be pulled out of the tournament, should continue. What do you think about UFC 111? What do you think about Guzman? What do you think about him? And what were your thoughts on Marcos Maidana and Victor Cayo? That's it for now. Be sure and check out the website, so whatwelivefightshow.com, leaveininthering.com, my Twitter if interested. Links to the information bar as always. Till next time, y'all.